Hey, my name is Alex Adelman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Lolli. Happy to be back at REIMAGINE.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to REIMAGINE 2021. This is our 7th conference in a monthly series of events, bringing you nothing but the best projects, bright minds, and leaders in the space. You know, we've been fortunate enough to invite many talented individuals and teams to come speak with us, providing updates, insights, and all the above that's happening in crypto right now. I'll be your host today, Adam, from the MouseBelt team, where we focus on early stage investments through our accelerator. We provide development support, to a number of growing projects in the space as well. Also education from MouseBelt University program. Our main objective is pretty simple. Our goals are to increase adoption, use cases, and real-world applications. We seek to educate, our audience on blockchain by helping them understand crypto's real impact. Again, thanks for joining us, tuning back into REIMAGINE 2021. We have another exciting interview for you today. Let me go ahead and introduce you, Alex Adelman, founder of Lolli. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day, Alex, to come participate again. I'm glad to have you back. It seems like you're becoming a reoccurring regular. So it's always a pleasure. How you doing, Alex?
Doing well. Thanks for having me back. Good to see you again.
Yeah, exactly. So you've been on a couple times. For those of you that missed the first 2 interviews that we did with him, you can always visit our YouTube channel at REIMAGINE 2020. The YouTube channel, you can Google that. He also has many keynotes, podcast interviews, all on YouTube. So go ahead and search that. Plenty of good content there. So I'm going to go ahead and try to keep this fresh. As I told Alex, we've had him on quite a few times. So let's go ahead and see, what we can do. But first things first, and I don't know if we caught this in the first 2 interviews, but where did the name, the Lolli name come from?
Yeah, so Lolli, we got our name from the idea that Bitcoin is the bank of the future. And the only thing that's missing is the lollipop at the end. The full story is when I was a kid, my dad used to take my sister and I to the bank, and we used to dread going. It was this awful place. And so the thing that we look forward to is the lollipop at the end. And so I think that Bitcoin is also, it can be confusing, it can be different than the thing that which is fiat money. And so if we're going to introduce Bitcoin to the next billion people, how do we, or the first billion people really, how do we make it more approachable? How do we make it that lollipop at the end that makes it worth adopting?
Not totally. And I bring that up because I used to work at the bank. So, and I have children, and they're young, and they were younger when they used to visit, and they still remember the lollipop, can we get a lollipop? So I bring that up because it kind of hits close to home. And what you're trying to target with Lolli in general is kind of what we need in the space, the masses. But kind of how I want to structure this interview this time is I kind of want to touch on some updates with Bitcoin, kind of like what's going on in the market a little bit, and then I want to get into more Lolli specific questions. But for those that are just tuning in, can you just give them kind of a quick synopsis of what Lolli's doing, and what kind of your goal and purpose is, for creating this rewards platform?
Yes, so Lolli is a Bitcoin rewards company at its core. We give people free Bitcoin when they shop online at over 1,000 different merchants. Our mission is to make Bitcoin more accessible to everybody and just make it way easier for people to get into Bitcoin. I think that one of the frustrations that I had, when I was first getting into Bitcoin, is that I couldn't really send, somebody a link or anything for someone to get in without them having to invest their hard-earned money into it. Thus, I was basically giving people financial advice to get into Bitcoin, which is a very difficult position to be in because most people are not investors. So by creating Lolli, we wanted to make Bitcoin way more easily accessible, way more understandable. And the fact is that most people understand cashback, rewards, and points for their purchases. And so we just said, why earn cash when you could earn Bitcoin? And we started Lolli, and the rest is history.
Yeah, no, I mean, going down this rabbit hole, I think one thing that I take away from that really is, and you brought it up right now, it's kind of like when people thought about Bitcoin in the past, when I was at the bank, my first wire was in 2013 for Bitcoin. I did a wire for a customer and they wanted to wire $100,000. And I was like, what are you buying? What is this? And we were kind of in the private bank at that point. And so that was kind of my first taste of it. I was like, wow, like what is this? Try to look into it and all the above. But point being is what you're bringing is it comes down to like value. Like I'm not a rewards user or a cash back, or when I go to dinner, people are like, oh, put it on my card and just pay me later so I can gain all this. I understand the value. Maybe I'm just not a heavy loyalty rewards credit card like consumer, but the value prop of it is like it's generating wealth, right? And so especially during this big crazy run where Bitcoin's like so volatile, like I totally get it. Like if you're not trading, like what's the point? How do I get in? And you're streamlining that. And so we'll touch on that as we go through this conversation. My next question is, what do you think about like this which kind of has like the overall same theme of like Elon Musk buying like Bitcoin with his treasury micro strategy, doing that, kind of like foreseeing the future of generating wealth. And I feel like that's what you're doing. You're allowing your consumer, your clients, your customers, your merchants, everybody that's involved to get a piece of the pie. So what are your thoughts real quick on kind of the mainstream market, which complements what you're doing, right? And you did this before, and then now they're coming into it, or obviously they've been researching, but just publicly has been exploding the last few months. What do you take on kind of the publicity of these big time, leaders, influential leaders?
Yep. So, I mean, the masses are coming in whether people like it or not. You've got institutions, you've got retail, you have all fronts that are adopting Bitcoin right now. And the beautiful thing is that everybody can adopt it, right? Like Bitcoin is accessible to everyone at this point. So there's very little like excuses of like why people haven't gotten involved. And you're seeing all these like macroeconomic trends, and these are not happening behind closed doors. This is not some like dealing in some boardroom of on Wall Street. This is all happening in the open and very intentionally so. We've been, saying for 3 years now, get your free Bitcoin, like come, use Lolli. We have people like Michael Saylor, who's going and talking to all the institutions, all the Fortune 500 companies, the CFOs of the biggest companies in the world. And he's saying, put Bitcoin on your balance sheet. And he's not doing it, behind closed doors, right? Like he's doing it on a webinar open for everybody so that every individual can also own Bitcoin on their balance sheets. And it's not just going to be the corporations or the wealthy, high net worth individuals that have access to Bitcoin. Now, they might be the only ones that listen, but he's doing it for everybody. It's wide open, and everybody needs to kind of take part of this financial revolution.
You're kind of doing your part, actually. You're telling the consumer side to put it on their balance sheet, right?
We're doing our best. We're doing our absolute best.
And so Bitcoin, and then I know your background, and again, we kind of don't need to go too deep into it because we have 2 other videos, right, of you kind of talking about it. But my question is because you came from kind of the payments background and you understand that, and then Bitcoin came about, like, how did you bridge that? Like, were you a crypto believer right off the bat? Did this kind of just fall into place with, as you pivoted from, one product and now integrating kind of this cryptocurrency called Bitcoin, in the past? Where were you at in terms of like bridging these two together?
Yeah, so I'm very much a believer in Bitcoin and crypto for the principles of it. I mean, the money, is the price is exciting. It goes up, and historically, or has gone up historically. So clearly there's like I'm very much a realist of like what attracts most people to crypto. And honestly, it probably is making money, and that's fine. Because once you make money, the natural human inclination is to say, okay, I have more resources to buy the things that I want to buy. And then you start to question, why do I have more resources? Then you start to question the principles. And that's when you become smarter on the thing that we ultimately want you to get smarter on, which is why Bitcoin? Why is Bitcoin so important? Why is crypto interesting? And so that's a very important shift for most people that have never questioned their money before. So to answer your question, I was very fortunate. I came from the payments world. I had been, kicked off, banks and payment processors and denied from all of these companies because I was moving money all around the world for my business. And I saw the challenges of not being able to move money freely all across the world. So when Bitcoin came out, it made so much sense. I'm like, why am I paying 10 people, all these middlemen, to move money from point A to point B when this technology exists for me to move money from point A to point B with no intermediaries?
Yeah.
So I felt very fortunate to understand it very early. And when I learned about it, I was like, oh, if this can generate the network effects that it needs for adoption, it will become the standard currency, the standard store of value for the world. So it feels painfully obvious to me. It just feels like a matter of time, and there's things that have needed to be proven out for me to take higher conviction positions personally and with a company. We actually, like with our last company, we tried to bring it to merchants. They didn't want it. We tried, we launched, when we got acquired, we tried to bring it to the acquiring company to like adopt Bitcoin. They didn't want it. So it wasn't until 2017, 2018 when we were like, okay, this is clear and inevitable future. We were thinking about what we wanted to build next. And we were like, we need a solution to take Bitcoin to the masses because no one had come up with this. So we were like, let's go build the first cashback system, but instead of giving cashback, let's go give Bitcoin. And here we are today with the leading Bitcoin rewards company, giving Bitcoin to everybody through the method of cashback.
And how's that going? So obviously it's a great transition from traditional cashback loyalty programs, kind of this first wave, or Web 2.0, or this evolution of leveraging credit. Now you're offering Bitcoin. Like what how's the growth actually? Because I don't know if we've discussed that in the past, but how's that target market, the profile, the consumer profile? Obviously, I'm in crypto, so this is a product for me. But what about the next wave? And it's probably a process, right? Like education, the retail starts becoming aware of it. As I mentioned, Elon and Michael Saylor, which we had on, talked about it as well. So it's kind of getting out there in the mainstream. But yeah, like how do you strategize or market, or who are you marketing to? Like, is it people like myself? Obviously you want to open this up, but like, what's kind of that strategy there to educate? Not only that, like have them feel it in a way that they're used to, leveraging cashback and rewards point systems.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of exchanges, their target market are investors. Our target market are shoppers, and that's fortunately everybody. I mean, probably over the age of like 13, more so 18, that like shops, right? So like, have you swiped a card? Have you paid with cash? Like, do you want rewards on that? You probably do. So our market is way bigger, I think, than the standard investor. And this similar to how like Robinhood, opened up investing in stocks to more people by just making it easier. Yes, like by making it easier to get into Bitcoin, we will open up the market to more people for them to invest in Bitcoin through rebates, through rewards.
Purchasing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And but who are you seeing there? Like, and we don't know, obviously it's like proprietary data, but like, are you seeing, I don't know, 18 to 30 year olds? Are you seeing 50 to 80 year olds? Like who's actually like signing up for a lot of, for the Lolli program?
Great question. So our sweet spot's 18 to 30. It's a very younger demographic. It's primarily male, 70% male, 30% female, which is interesting for a few reasons. But one of the big reasons is that the last stat I heard was that only 4% of crypto users were female. And so if we truly are, bringing Bitcoin to more people and making it accessible, it's a really good signal that 30% of our users are female. And so far, we just did another survey, and it looks like it's trending higher. It's not confirmed yet, but it's trending higher to 50-50, which is where we want to be. We want it to be equal access to everybody. We want everybody to be able to get into it. And so if we truly are making it more accessible, we need to be making Bitcoin more accessible to both, genders, right? And all ethnicities, all, backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds. We're very much on a mission to do that. And so far it's looking very good.
And how do you do that? Like, do you market to universities? Is it through kind of network effects of like merchants, which leads me into a separate question you can answer separately. So one question is, how do you like attract new customers? And then two, like, how do your merchants play into your strategy that benefits the users, right? Because I think in this rewards, kind of landscape, you got to like partner up with the businesses that your users want to shop at. So it kind of comes full circle for everybody involved. So one question is, how do you attract new users? And obviously it sounds easy to me, like this is Bitcoin. So come up and sign up. And then two, like how do your merchants play into, I guess complementing like your target base or vice versa?
So free money is a really great term,
Yeah.
right? It's people want free money, and they're curious about Bitcoin. So you have like the price volatility that is a point of attraction. So the average user is going to be checking the price more often than they're going to be checking the price of the US dollar, because a dollar is a dollar.
Yeah.
So people are coming in and they're curious about Bitcoin. They want to learn more. And then the other piece is that you're getting it for free. And people love getting things for free, especially things that have value, actual value. So yeah, I mean, those are really the 2 points that we're bringing people in on. And yeah, people want free money and people want free Bitcoin.
And then the second part of that is the merchants. Like what's the strategy on selecting, picking, choosing, working with, and then like what are those conversations looking like, with them? Like, hey, this is what we're doing. We obviously want to, bring you business, and you guys are bringing us business, and everybody benefits. But how do you pick your merchants? And then what do those conversations look like? The good and the bad. Like, yeah, we'll sign up. No, it's not for us. Or maybe everybody's signing up on the merchant side.
Yeah, and I think that's a non-obvious piece about our business. So I love that question, because it's bringing merchants on the platform is also increasing Bitcoin adoption, because we're bringing on the same merchants that are like, I think we only have 2 merchants that actually accept Bitcoin. So think about that.
Wow.
2 out of 1,000 plus merchants of the biggest merchants in the world that we have on the platform that do not accept Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, but they are willing to give Bitcoin to people. So it is very much a form of Bitcoin adoption amongst merchants. And in order to have the full, economic and financial monetary cycle, you have to have people paying merchants with crypto to have the ultimate shift, because that's the point. That's what people do every day. You're not going to have that shift by just investing. You have to have it to be a part of someone's everyday life. So to answer your question, bringing the merchants on is a very important part of the ecosystem, and it's a very important part of our business. And we are the leaders in the space on merchant adoption. So what we do is we come to the merchants and we say, hey, look, do you want to make more money?
Yeah.
Pretty obvious. You don't have to touch anything on crypto. We do all the hard, heavy lifting on the Bitcoin side. All they do is say, we are going to reward a new customer that comes in and shops through our site through Lolli. That's all. That's all. So
and they're not actually rewarding them with the Bitcoin. Like, again, you guys do it on the back end. They receive the consumer sales. Lolli takes care of the back end where it converts, the whole process. They don't actually touch Bitcoin at all, right?
No, they don't have to. And that's the beauty of our technology, is that they just have to partner with us. They just have to, sign an agreement saying that we are going to reward, Bitcoin through Lolli, through this sort of partnership, and that we do all the heavy lifting. So we say, for the sake of this example, let's just say that we structured a deal. The merchant pays us, X% of every sale. We then pass that back to the consumer. We then buy the Bitcoin, hold the Bitcoin securely in a custodial wallet for our users, and then our users have access to that Bitcoin. They can do it whatever they want with it. They can move it to their own Bitcoin address, cold wallet, exchange, whatever, or they can sell it and move it back into a US dollar bank account of their choice. So we make it really easy. Most people choose to just hold the Bitcoin. A few users choose to move Bitcoin into their own Bitcoin wallets. But not your keys, not your coin, and it's totally up to them what they want to do with their Bitcoin.
And the merchants, like how are you selecting these merchants? I'm assuming you probably think of this 18 to 30-year-old demographic, and then I guess strategize on like what the consumer profile looks like for the merchant side, and then go out and get these merchants to drive that that 18 to 30-year-old to the businesses themselves, right?
Yep, we're trying to bring on merchants that people shop at every day. So we have grocery, we have health wellness, we have travel, you name it. We try to find something for everybody. Food delivery is another big one. So there's all these merchants that we believe that if they come on the platform, that our users will enjoy and having them on the platform, but also earning more Bitcoin through these merchants and having this really good alignment. Also, because of the nature of Bitcoin, it being like a cool new thing, a lot of merchants that are not on the cashback sites are willing to partner with us because we are about financial inclusivity, financial education, and our brand is very much associated around that. And I know your brand is too, with everything you guys are doing. And so we actually see this positioning being a competitive advantage over like cashback, loyalty, coupon sites that don't really serve, the users more than just giving them free money.
Yeah, no, totally. Like I said at the beginning, it's more of the value. It's it's a strong word, but creating some kind of wealth, some kind of, I mean, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, like without even talking about price, just kind of like an inflation hedge, like just more benefits other than just kind of one for one or some kind of percentage on the dollar, which, a lot of people do benefit. But I think the Bitcoin opens a lot of more doors, especially for the millennials and like, younger, right? Like, I mean, this is like the new wave of a currency, of adoption of a native internet money that people are becoming aware of. Do you have a program? Maybe it's in the works for merchants to generate or have a rewards program for businesses or merchants themselves? Right now, we're talking consumer.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of users that actually use Lolli for their businesses.
Oh,
like
great.
travel is a huge category for us. So some of our biggest earners are actually using it, are like EAs at their company, or they book a lot of travel for work. They're CEOs of businesses, business owners that are using it for, buying computers, buying office supplies, and they're earning a ton of Bitcoin back. So when we interview, a lot of our users, that's one of the things that we hear a lot that I always found really interesting is like a lot of them can actually spend more because they're spending their company's money. They're getting, cash back in the form of Bitcoin. Their company doesn't care, right? Like,
No.
they'd be buying it anyway. So why not use Lolli? So everybody wins with what we're doing.
And right now it's just Bitcoin. Any ideas, concepts around other available crypto tokens, currencies in the market as of today? Maybe, maybe not, or in the future, potentially?
If there's a large enough demand, I'm open to it. We really haven't had much demand. I mean, people like joke around Dogecoin and stuff like that, but I don't think actually like it would make sense to give Dogecoin. There's no practical application of it. And at the end of the day, we want to lead people into something that is going to have value for the long term, not just like meme coins. So I think it's really important that anything that we give is associated with Lolli, right? Like it's our brand, whatever we're giving. So we surprisingly haven't heard from that many people that want ETH or anything like that, which I've been surprised in, to be honest, because I actually follow very much free market principles where if, even though I am the longest on Bitcoin and I believe in Bitcoin, as a store of value for on a very long time frame, I don't necessarily think that just because I am the owner of this company means that I should be the adjudicator of what people should be able to earn. So I'm totally open to other things. I just don't want to give someone something that doesn't have value or doesn't have demand. So we very much stayed true to being Bitcoin only as a differentiator in the market, and knowing too that like since we launched, Bitcoin has 10x, 11x since we launched. So we were very right about our assumption that by giving people Bitcoin, it was a very good thing for everybody. And there's this term that our users have created called the Lolli effect, which is the point at which the things that you purchased and the Bitcoin you earned surpasses the value of the reward surpasses what you bought, making that thing ultimately free and calling it the Lolli effect. So as long as we keep doing that, I think we're going to be in a great position.
And do you have this fear? I mean, I've had some discussions through our conference and just through our my contacts of like Bitcoin is the option at the moment. I'm a believer in Bitcoin. Like, I own Bitcoin. Point is like, do you see, and it's compared to like digital gold. Do you see any kind of risk that Bitcoin, because it's only digital gold in terms of like a non-productive asset, potentially, like itself, like gold, it's just gold, right? You leave it there, it come back 80 years later, it's gold. Do you have any like thoughts on Bitcoin not being the ultimate winner and in some kind of other currency kind of coming about to take its place?
Right now, Bitcoin looks like the winner as far as store of value, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's more so competing with gold at this point,
Yeah.
and Bitcoin is better gold, right? Like there is a finite amount of it. It has better properties than gold, and I think that I don't think that that's a debate at this point. Like, why own a rock that like I don't really have access to? I can't is not easily saleable, is not transferable across geographies. Like, why would I own gold if I could own digital gold that is like built off of the properties? So right now, I don't really think I see something coming along that is a better store of value than Bitcoin. Now, like, I'm always looking for it. I'm in no way dogmatic, even though I probably seem like it to most. I'm very long Bitcoin, but that's largely because it has the best properties. It is the best store of value. It is the best currency for its purpose. There is a lot of innovation going on in the space, and there's a lot of smart people that are trying to copy Bitcoin or replace Bitcoin. I just haven't seen anybody do it. So I am a big believer in stablecoins. I think that stablecoins are largely being powered by Ethereum and some by other blockchains. But right now, Ethereum seems to be probably going to be the winner in that space if I could predict the future today. And there's plenty of issues with scalability and that kind of thing right now. But with the promise of ETH2, assuming that it lives up to a fraction of the promise or even the promise, stable coins will be a powerful part of the future. These like this idea of like a stable coin on top of fiat currency should lead us into an inevitable hyper Bitcoinization future, but you need stable coins in order to do that. And one of my biggest frustrations and points of innovation is the transferability of money, removing the middlemen, having safe, easy access to transferring money from point A to point B. And Bitcoin, because of its volatility, is not always the best as a medium of exchange for most people. It is a really good medium of exchange for a lot of people, but not most people, and definitely not people in the US. So when you look at just functions of a medium of exchange, stablecoins probably will be the best because you can move money for next to nothing, and you can move it in line, pegged 1-to-1 with your fiat money.
Any kind of asset,
any kind of asset. So like with that philosophy, yes, stablecoins are coming, and they're coming fast. They're growing like crazy, and we will see mass adoption of stablecoins as a medium of exchange and a very pervasive technology throughout the world of the next 5 years.
And is Lolli only available to U.S. consumers?
For now.
Yeah. And how's that? How's the expansion on that? Like, what are some of the challenges there to go to another, geographic region?
To be honest, it's like, we don't have the luxury of being a decentralized currency. We at the end of the day, we are a centralized company with partnerships, and we doing like real business development. So there's a few things. There's business development. We have certain economies of scale from expanding internationally, but there's also a lot of challenges around just getting to new countries. Regulation is another thing. Going into a new country, we are people. We are subject to laws. We are not Satoshi Nakamoto of this unknown individual that is probably not even you can't sue somebody that you don't know, and you can't take someone to jail that doesn't exist. So we have to be very careful around fitting within those regulations, and going into different countries legally is a challenge. So we are very much excited about bringing free Bitcoin to the entire world, but we have a long way to go to do that. And this year will be a big year for international expansion, and we are very excited to bring Bitcoin to more people and more places.
And to touch on that real quick on the regulation aspect, it's not a security. It seems like the product itself lends itself to a little bit more streamlined process, and we don't have to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but like what are some of the challenges? Because I mean, are you considered an exchange or like no, right? So it's probably obviously got to go through the hurdles. It seems like from this point it's doable. It's just you got to like go through it. Is that what I'm hearing? As opposed to
we just got to do it. We got to
regulation risk. Yeah, like regulation risk or compliance risk. Like, does that play into effect? I mean, obviously you have rules and regulations, but it seems like you just execute on that and like you're good to go.
Yeah. We basically just execute on what we're doing. I mean, it really just comes down to like, we're a small team, right? And you can raise hundreds of millions of dollars as a startup, but you also could give up 99% of your company before getting to the end goal. And we are a centralized company. We want to, build a massive, profitable company. And if you raise too much money too fast, or if you grow too fast, you will fail. So we want to grow at the right pace that serves us and our users at the same time. And we ultimately, want to build a big sustainable company that we are in control of. And the way to do that is to retain control of the board, of our rights and everything, so that we can build with a philosophy and put in place that philosophy, those principles into the company that we're building.
Yeah, no, that's great. And what kind of partners do you guys like look for, or what do you have on? What kind of partners do you have now? And then what do you look for? Like who are you working with to kind of get this product, this service out?
What do you mean?
Like what type of like, do you have partners, or other than merchants, do you work with do you work with the Bitcoin court? Do you work with like the Bitcoin team? Do you work with other kind of infrastructure players in some capacity, like regarding crypto blockchain? And you may or may not. I was just kind of curious, thinking about, obviously you have your merchants, obviously you have the back end work. Are there any kind of avenues that you try to tap into to kind of expand business or bring in business or deepen relationships with? I don't know if it's a relevant question or not.
No, that's a relevant question. We work without basically sharing too much about our security practices.
Yeah.
We definitely leverage third parties that have like, best in class security, that their one job is like hold Bitcoin securely in a, vault with like literal security guards. We do not want to be beholden to all of the, everything. And so we abstract a lot of that to protect our users' funds and that kind of thing. So we also work with a lot of like, companies that are not in the crypto space to power us, right? Like there's a lot of like, server technologies that we're, using, cloud services, things that are going to make us run faster and better. And, to date, we've had an incredible amount of uptime that I don't think a lot of people realize. Like you see like, major exchanges go down all the time, and you don't see the same complaints about Lolli. And we've done a very good job of that. And a lot of that is leveraging like third parties that are going to, that are using the right technology, so that when we have these crazy spikes in our usage and our growth, that we are able to continue to grow at the rate that we want to be growing at.
No, that's great. You answered the question right off the bat. Just kind of, you're right. I could have prefaced it even with non-crypto companies, which you're kind of in this space to deal with, non-crypto technical, consumers. Do these quick rallies, like these Bitcoin rallies, does that affect anything on the back end, or kind of capacity bandwidth, when like, it goes up, 50, 60%, drops 30%? Like, does that have any kind of issue, challenges?
Not really. I mean, it's more just like we get more users, the more volatile Bitcoin is.
Mm-hmm.
When Bitcoin goes up, people are coming in like, in the masses to come see, learn more about it or to get more of it. When Bitcoin goes down, we have a whole meme that our community has developed, which is like stack the dip, earn more when Bitcoin dips. So really it's like, if the biggest thing that is difficult is when Bitcoin's just like staying around the same price. It's not as fun, and so people don't pay attention to it. But right now, everyone's paying attention to Bitcoin. All eyes are on Bitcoin right now, and so far that's like working out really well.
No, that totally right. Like up and down, like that's where the opportunities are, and creates more excitement. And so the products that you have available, whether it's web and mobile, how do people kind of use Lolli, for accessibility?
Let's see. So, can you kind of explain that?
Like you set up an account, right? Like you have a website, and then do you have a web app too to make purchases?
Oh yeah. So how you use Lolli? You go to lolli.com. You sign up for the Chrome extension is our most popular product. Our mobile app that we're launching soon, and have a free app that is that a lot of people are using to earn Bitcoin every single day on. you can use that as well. And we're actually launching a new feature in it that is similar to the web experience that lets you shop and earn on mobile. So you are going to be able to go do that over the next few weeks. But yeah, go to lolli.com, download the Chrome extension, download the mobile app, and start earning as soon as possible. Because like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, exactly. No, perfect way to set that up. Everybody signed up. Obviously, the market's great. This is, and when I think of Bitcoin, I just think years down the road. So 5, 10, 15, kind of new way of capturing value and wealth. So this is a great opportunity, great product, great service. Alex, what else are you following in the space? We talked about Lolli here. We're talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about the types of profiles, users that are into Bitcoin, that are using, Lolli, merchants that are kind of opening up, the discussions there to kind of, add value and contribute value in the way that they can. Where do you see actually Lolli like in 5-10 years from now?
Yeah, so very straightforward. I look at us as being like a Bitcoin rewards company first, and then we transition into giving people more financial services everywhere. So giving them the ability to like lend Bitcoin, giving people the ability to buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, buy stable coins, and then eventually paying with those stable coins, paying with Bitcoin. Once we get there, we go to all of our merchants that we've made billions of dollars for, and we say, hey, accept stablecoins, accept Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. And that's when we start to look into like more of a hyper Bitcoinization future. But we always want to be that like the easiest way for people to get into Bitcoin, into crypto, and really owning that at the start and probably forever.
And I kind of like the flow of this discussion because I like the evolution here that we're talking about. I think when people come in thinking about Bitcoin, they think about this like, funny money, this monopoly money, like what does it matter? Like, and again, we're in the US too, so it's different. Like there's really no need for that, a currency type to take over the dollar quite yet, but it's beyond that. And the evolution, what I like about this discussion is it kind of just showcases the plans of how things before you know it become kind of what your 5 to 10 year plan is. Like, oh shit, like now they're accepting payments. Like, how did Lolli, how did this company start accepting payments via Lolli? Well, it happened about 5-10 years ago when nobody was paying attention, and the incremental steps that we took, streamlining like UI UX friendly, website, mobile app, rewards that we're used to. And then before you know it, like the merchants are getting used to it, educated, and now they're starting to accept, crypto as a native payment on Rails themselves. I was just on a phone call with MasterCard, and like same thing. Like they don't have the infrastructure Rails yet, but they are allowing, the branding of the cards themselves, the process to take place. And once things kind of settle down and like the time frame 5 years, 7 years, the infrastructure will be there and they'll start accepting it. Like they don't even really care. They just can't because of regulations, compliance, and all that. Once that clears, like you're already going to be in position with your current clients that you've been working with for some time. So it's a great plan there. Good strategy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're pretty confident in it.
So what else excites you in the space? Blockchain itself touches a lot of tech, a lot of verticals, a lot of industries, a lot of companies. What are you keeping tabs on nowadays?
I mean, I'm super focused on Bitcoin, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of distractions in the space. There have been since I got into Bitcoin. I think that there's a lot of interesting innovation going on in the stablecoin space. I'm very much looking at stablecoins right now, and with the intent that it is the natural progression of fiat to Bitcoin. So yeah, very much looking at stablecoins. I think NFTs are very interesting. I think like NFTs, I love art. I love alternative assets and democratization of those assets. So I love that like stocks are being a part of the mainstream. I love that, Wall Street Bets is drawing attention to investing for the mainstream. I love accessibility, democratization of really most things. So NFTs are really interesting because it's taking art that has lived on the internet, digital art that has, lived on the internet for a long time, digital music that has lived on the internet for a long time, and it's assigning value and a store of value to this that should have always been, since the internet was created. So I wouldn't say I'm like spending a lot of time there, but it's piqued my interest, and I always reserve like a couple hours on a Sunday to just like explore the internet again and see what's going on. Check out some DeFi projects, check out some like in NFT projects, and that's just to stay fresh. Like I never want to be dogmatic about anything. I know I'd never want to get left behind with anything. And if something piques my interest and fits the sort of principles of access, democratization, of alternative assets, I think that those are really important things to explore. So yeah, I would say that those are the big things that I'm looking at today.
Yeah, no, and NFTs are going crazy. And I think what's great about what's awesome about Lolli in general compared to other potential players in the space, existing legacy, traditional companies in the space that offer their own rewards is like you guys are, and people can watch this on YouTube from like your experience of like your journey of just grinding it out, like being flexible, executing, pivoting when need be. And like, I think those are competitive advantages, especially with the pace of innovation, in the crypto Bitcoin scene, that your team is like primed to take full advantage of, whether it's, like you said, whether it's payments down the road. Currently it's, leveraging kind of the existing system we have and benefiting from that for the purpose of like this new future of Bitcoin. So like, I commend you on that. And I don't think you guys are gonna have any trouble with the experience that you have from startups, bootstrapping, couch surfing. I think I heard you say like you ran into was it Ryan Shea like on an elevator, and like is he the one that sparked like Bitcoin?
Yeah, we bumped into each other in New York when I was crashing on couches, and he had just caught the Bitcoin bug in like 2013 or so. And so he was just obsessed, right? And like that moment that like everybody just like gets it and is like all in on it. And so he like told me all about it. And yeah, I was like, oh my God, this is the inevitable future. And I have to learn more. So that was the moment that like, I learned about it and turned for me.
And I've learned that from like startup founders, entrepreneurs like yourself, where like you were obviously in the payments game, found this opportunity, like integrated, implemented it. That was when was that? When did you start kind of thinking about integrating Bitcoin for Lolli?
So
what year? Like 2013 itself, or like 20?
Well, we didn't start Lolli until 2017.
Yeah.
So it was
but the idea, I guess, was probably brewing for a couple years.
Or actually 2018. Yeah, it was brewing for a long time.
Yeah.
When we were at Cosmic, or when we were building Cosmic, is when I learned about it. So 2013.
Yeah.
And then I ended up taking it to all of our merchant partners, and I was like, hey, we work with like 99 different payment processors. Let's make Bitcoin that extra payment processor number 100. So we went to all of them. We said, hey, like, why don't you accept Bitcoin? And a lot of them were like, we don't know what we would do with it. So remittance networks weren't set up. And then on the other side, consumers didn't even have it, let alone did they want to pay with something that was going up over time. So we just didn't feel like it was going to be a big, like, payments weren't going to be like the really big piece of Bitcoin. It could have been a feature of what we were doing, and we probably could have seen some success with it. But there's been a lot of like payment technologies on Bitcoin that don't really make a lot of sense. So we ultimately were like, okay, that's not it. And then we were ultimately bought by Rakuten, the biggest cashback company in the US, many parts of the world. And it wasn't until we were there, we were like, oh my God, this would be an incredible way to give Bitcoin to people. And we know the reward space better than most people in the world.
For sure.
So let's go rebuild this and do it for Bitcoin.
Yeah. And I think kind of that, that's kind of the edge that you have to kind of be nimble, move quick, understand the market, and like, execute, deliver. And here you are now, right? In 2021. Was Ryan Shea, was he part of Blockstack? Is that the right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, the right person. I have an interview with them actually in about 3 hours.
Oh, amazing. Munib
Munib. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because I know they're not, it's Munib now running the show. We have an interview with them, which is kind of cool which kind of ties into this combo a little bit. Like they're kind of expanding on the, leveraging Bitcoin, which a lot of people moved away from Bitcoin. But in the end, institutions, like bigger players, are all focused on Bitcoin, which you are too. You haven't heard any more, inquiries or suggestions on like integrating another type of, blockchain network. So yeah, I'm interviewing with them, which they are obviously expanding and trying to scale when people, don't develop on Bitcoin. So that's kind of interesting. Anyways, you had met them, so that's kind of a cool story.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. Yeah, I think what they're doing is very interesting. I'm glad that they kind of came back into Bitcoin to build on top of Bitcoin. It's very much needed for these
Right.
like sort of like layer 2 solutions, and I think is
Yeah.
how they classify themselves. So very cool what they're doing. And then yeah, Ryan is literally who introduced me to Bitcoin. So full circle and small world.
No, that's cool, man. So I think we're running up on time here. Like, I hope you enjoyed the convo. I had a great time chatting with you today.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me, and let's talk again soon.
Yeah, exactly. So this is Alex Adelman here, a CEO, founder of Lolli. This is our third kind of interview with Alex here on the show. Super pumped to have him back. Great friend. He's interviewed, I think, with a few of our team members now. So Alex, thank you for taking time out of your day. We'll talk to you again soon, and we'll follow up. Have a good one.
That sounds great, Adam. Take care.